This lifelong Democrat who lived through the civil rights era knocks this speech out of the park. Watch.
I rise because I continue to hear references to what I saw in growing up in this country and growing up in the state of Tennessee as I walked with my father and worked with my father here in the state of Tennessee, in Memphis, Tennessee, and across this state and across this country. In the middle of what has been referenced to on several occasions, the civil rights movement. And, you know, people continue to refer to this, but I saw it. I saw men and women stand with courage and integrity and class, and they changed the world. They changed the world because what the world could see in them was the lie that was being told about them. I am one of those individuals who walked in back doors because the law said I had to. I'm one of those individuals who rode on the back of the bus on the back seats that were not cushioned because the law said I had to. I went to the water and drank colored water because the law said I had to. I went to a school where everybody looked like me and the country was divided and segregated because the law said that I had to. So all of these things we continue to refer to are the things that me and my generation lived. We saw it for ourselves. We're not reading it in the history books, but we lived it. I went with my father when he and our neighbor got one of those I am a man signs and went downtown Memphis and watched him stand there proudly with Dr. King and other men and women, black and white, who had enough courage to stand up against what was wrong. And the way they did it, they had on their suits, their shirts, their ties, hats, and if it was cold, their overcoats. They locked arms and they marched peacefully. And Dr. King stood for that which was peaceful. Because the world took a look at what was happening in Memphis, in Chicago, in Detroit, in Washington, D.C., and all over this country, we changed the entire world. And we changed it because those men and women had enough guts, integrity, enough citizenship and love of country, because my father was a Korean War era soldier, as many of those other men and women were. They didn't beg for anything. They didn't beg for citizenship. They demanded it because they were American citizens who paid taxes, who raised children, who paid house notes and rent, and did everything they were supposed to do so that they could demand from this country and its Constitution those things that they were supposed to have. How did they do it? They did it by standing like men and women of integrity and class and common sense and values. When the riots started and folks started burning stuff down, that's when my father took my arm and we left. We left because that was not what we were there for. That was not what Dr. King was there for. That was not what others who are famous in the civil rights days were there for. This was not peaceful. It was not part of our movement, and it only hurt everything. My family raised money and sent my dad to Washington for that march, where that man stood there and said that he wanted his children judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And all we do in America right now is talk about color. Every issue is about race, it's about color, instead of us sitting down at the table like men and women of common sense and common justice, and understanding that our enemies are looking with a greedy vigilance upon us as we tear ourselves apart eternally. They have been watching us for 50 years, preparing step by step by step by step for us to kill ourselves. And I may not be back here next year. And I'm sure everything I say is going to be misconstrued and misquoted and used against me in November. Fine, because I stand for my father's legacy. I stand for the men and women who acted like they had some sense and some courage and changed this country by being men and women who stood for something if we don't start standing for something. Don't you know that the people who are looking at what's happening in Washington, in Detroit, in Portland, in Seattle, they're getting emboldened because we act like a bunch of punks, too frightened to stand up and protect our own stuff. You tell me that somebody got the right to tear down property that Tennessee taxpayers paid for? That American taxpayers paid for, and somebody has the right to destroy it, deface it, and tear it down? What kind of people have we become that we can't protect our own stuff? Peaceful protest ends peacefully. Anarchy ends in chaos. And what we see happening right now, any of us with any common sense whatsoever, know that what we see is not peaceful. So we can continue to fool ourselves and mix with words and use rhetoric and public relations in order to frost this stuff over and put a nice picture on what we see that is frightening. Frightening? I have a nephew who is a policeman who talked about getting attacked the other night. You're telling me that somebody has the right to throw feces and urine in the face of those that we as taxpayers pay to protect us, and that's okay? What has happened to us? If we don't get this right now, I've got grandchildren. I don't want to see the country we're going to have 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. If we don't start acting like we got some guts, right now, brethren, sisterin, friends, colleagues, right now.
Wow, I had to play that in full because it's one of the most powerful speeches I've seen in a long time. He's been a Democrat his whole life, but according to Wikipedia, DeBerry was removed from the ballot for the August 2020 Democratic primaries because of his history of aligning with the Republicans in votes and donations. So when you talk like that, when you tell people the raw truth, I guess you can't be a Democrat anymore. That's the message they're sending. And it's not a surprise to anybody who's paying attention. You have NPR writing puff pieces about how it's okay to destroy property. In fact, it's right out of the Communist Manifesto, which I've been reading to see what they're really thinking. They want to destroy private property. That's their goal. So it's not a coincidence. In the Orwell novel 1984, they used two phrases to show you a tyrannical government who forced lies down your throat, and it was 2 + 2 = 5, and war is peace. Both of them have been propagated by the Democratic Party and the media recently. The very liberal Harvard wants you to now believe 2 + 2 could be 5. I mean, why stick to basic math? Let's just lie about that now, too. Mostly peaceful protests. They tell you it's peaceful, it's peaceful. I'm having a hard time believing that these type of people, David Dorn and this man, aren't true heroes. These are black lives that Black Lives Matter and these people don't care about at all. They say, we don't want to burn stuff down. We don't want to hurt anybody. We're just peaceful. But we all have eyes like John DeBerry and we can see it. Meanwhile, at the VMAs yesterday, you had Lady Gaga dressing like this. You had rap artist DaBaby standing on a cop car as the entire city burned. I like rap music, but as the media tells us we're not doing this, it must be some sort of radical right-wing group. They're promoting it in their media every single day. They're lying about it in their media every single day. They covered it up and lied about it until they realized that Trump was coming back in the polls, and now all of a sudden they say it's violent, but it's the other side. It's not us. How do you level with people that just won't tell the truth? They don't want to have peaceful protests for months on end. They've been destroying major cities. You've had a mass exodus from Los Angeles and New York City. I know because I left Los Angeles. It's disgusting, it's horrible, and it's only getting worse, and Democrats have no answer. All they do is lie. All they do is blame Trump. All they do is use their little media lackeys like Stephen Colbert and John Oliver and even NBA stars like LeBron James and Steve Kerr to carry water for them and just lie, deceive the people. So what's the solution in this country? They think 2 + 2 = 5. They think a lifelong criminal resisting arrest is a hero, and somebody that got hit in the head with a skateboard and had a gun pointed at him defending himself is a criminal. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. You don't don't have the right to defend yourself, they say. You don't have the right to private property. Their political party, whether they want to admit it or not, is getting overrun by progressive socialists and communists who literally want to abolish private property. Even Instagram is promoting abolishing private property. Don't pay rent. Communism, communism. Are we not supposed to notice? And classic Democrats like John DeBerry are getting run out of the party for being too honest, for being too fair, for being peaceful, for saying this doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. You can't just force people to like you when you're being evil, destroying their property, threatening them, lying about everything. Of course people aren't going to like you more. They're only increasing racial tensions. They're only increasing the division. They're only increasing the hate. They're only further destroying cities. President Trump tried to bring opportunity zones to lower income areas. He did prison reform, and they're setting these communities back 50, 60 years by just destroying them, running businesses out of it, running Good Samaritans out of it. How is New York City, how is Los Angeles, how is Chicago, how are any of these Democrat areas going to rise when they have spineless left-wing leaders like Portland's Ted Wheeler, who went out and supported the protesters, aka insurrectionists and rioters? They ran them off the streets, they cursed at them, they attacked them. He blamed President Trump before federal officers got there. Then Trump tried to help, then he blamed Trump, so Trump left and he let the chaos boil out of control, and then all they want to do is blame. They have no solutions. They want this violence, they want this chaos. Unless it hurts them in the polls, then all of a sudden they care. But God bless John DeBerry. It's nice to see that there's some normal Democrats that unfortunately aren't welcome in the Democratic Party anymore. I don't think any sane, rational, or good person is allowed in that party anymore. They want to promote people like this. LOL, why do people trust me? I'm Satan. Satan is the devil. I support and pray to God. So does most of this planet. So I'm sure John DeBerry went independent, but if they don't want him, I'm sure the Republican Party would love somebody with that type of character, that type of integrity, that type of honesty, like Vernon Jones, who's a Democrat supporting the president, who recently got attacked by psychos in the streets. This is what they want: anarchy, chaos, war. And the ones like John who say peace, love, truth. Show people what a great person you are. Show people the content of your character. Judge people by the content of their character. All they do is race, 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 race. They don't care about the content of your character because they don't care about the content of their character. They think they could be wicked, evil, nasty, hypocrites, and that's simply okay because of their political leanings, and it's not. It defies every law of God and every law of the universe that we've understood for thousands of years because it's not true. You could call it karma, you could call it what you want, but if you think you could just burn, destroy, harass, kill, threaten, ignore, and act like you have the moral high ground while you treat people like this, and this, and this, and this, like dirt, it's not going to end very well for you, me, or this country. So hopefully people get some common sense and courage like John DeBerry. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you. Americans like you, God bless you. And I wish you success this next election, regardless of your political party. Thanks for watching my videos. Have a beautiful day. And if you like these hats, I designed them myself. DreamRare.com. Spread a good message that the world desperately needs. Have a good day.